Hello everyone, my name is Miguel Zenón. I'm a saxophonist and composer, originally from San Juan, Puerto Rico, but now based for a while here in New York City. Really happy and honored to get the opportunity to share some music with you. And I want to thank my colleagues from the Ori-Gen Collective for providing this opportunity, this platform, and giving me the chance to do this. The first thing I want to share with you today is something that I recorded quite recently on a project of mine, recording project called Sonero, the music of Ismael Rivera. And like the title suggests, this album is a tribute to Ismael Rivera, the great revolutionary singer and band leader from Puerto Rico, who in many ways changed the direction of salsa music and popular music in Latin America forever. I grew up with Ismael Rivera's music, Maelo's music, and ever since I was a kid, he had a very profound effect on me. I sort of grew up looking up to this persona, not only as a singer, but also what he symbolized for us Puerto Ricans, especially Afro-Puerto Ricans, and everyone, especially in the working class. He was sort of like a hero. And eventually, once I became a musician and got more interested in music, I started really, looking at his music and witnessing the type of musical genius he had and what he left us with. So I want to play something for you from this album that we recorded in tribute to Ismael Rivera. Is a song called Colobo, which Maelo, of course, recorded and made very well known. The title is an allusion to a fishing village in the town of Loíza, Puerto Rico, which historically and even now in the present is one of the epicenters of Afro-Puerto Rican culture in the island. And this fishing village of Colobo is a place where Ismael Rivera spent a lot of time interacting with the folks there, and he had a lot of affinity with the people in this specific part of the town. So he recorded this tune sort of to as a symbol and just to say how much he loved the time he spent there. Our arrangement is based, of course, on the original. It grabs a lot from the original. The original was a bomba, Puerto Rican bomba, but we put a little spin on it and put our own kind of vision on what the arrangement and what the tune means to us. So we hope you enjoyed this one. This one features my quartet with Luis Perdomo on the piano, Hans Klavishnik on the bass, Henry Cole on the drums, myself on alto saxophone and the arrangement. And this is Colobo from Sonero, the music of Ismael Rivera. right, so welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that. We're going to move on now and take a step back. And this is something from a recording that I released a few years ago in 2018. The recording itself is called Yo Soy la Tradición, and this is a work, really a series of compositions that were commissioned initially by the Hyde Park Jazz Festival in the city of Chicago. They, when they spoke to me about writing music for a specific performance at the festival, they asked me if it was possible to include some musicians from the area, from the Chicago area. And coincidentally, I had just collaborated at that time with an amazing string quartet based in Chicago, which is called Spectral Quartet. So it just kind of seemed like the perfect opportunity to just kind of develop a collaboration with this amazing ensemble, and also to kind of jump into the waters of the deep waters of writing for a string quartet, something that I really hadn't done before, at least to the extent of what this project is. So Yo Soy la Tradición is really a project that combines many different traditions. One, of course, the Western classical tradition, and writing for the string quartet and for that specific ensemble and instrumentation, but also a lot of seeds for the compositions came from traditions from Puerto Rico, be it musical or cultural traditions that come from the island. So it involved a lot of research, a lot of listening, and trying to find things that could translate well. And also, of course, a lot of things that come from the jazz tradition, especially when it comes to improvisation and interaction. So all of this came together and were sort of meshed together when it came to putting the project, just creating the project. The song that I want to share for you is a piece called Promesa. And Promesa, this alludes to a very historic tradition in Puerto Rico, the tradition of the promesa. And basically what this entails is an individual will make a promise to a specific religious deity. This is actually a Catholic tradition, so a Catholic deity. And he'll make that promise in return of a favor or that deity delivering a favor in a time of need. So that need could be something like financial trouble, also, or some kind of health situation or some family concern. So this individual will ask the deity for a favor, and if that favor is granted, then in return, the individual will deliver on his promise. Now that promise usually has something to do with some kind of celebration. And during that celebration, there'll be an altar for that deity, and people will bring gifts, and there'll be music specifically written and sung for that specific deity. So it could be La Virgen de la Milagrosa, Los Tres Reyes Magos, La Virgen de la Guadalupe. It could be many different deities. So this song, Promesa, specifically the one that I want to share for you, was written thinking about a promesa a los Tres Reyes Magos, to the Three Kings, which is also a very historic tradition in Puerto Rico and all over Latin America. Basically, the Three Kings in Puerto Rico is kind of what Christmas is in most places in the United States, where it's the day where, you get your gifts, and it's a very, very traditional thing, especially for me growing up in a lot of parts of Puerto Rico, especially in the rural areas. This day, the celebration for the Three Kings usually happens. Not usually, it always happens in January 6th. So around this time is when people will usually deliver on their promises for the Three Kings. And this composition was inspired by many different pieces that I explored and listened to that were specifically written for the Three Kings. So I hope you enjoyed this one. This is Promesa, featuring Spectral Quartet. So this is Russell Rowland on the cello, Doyle Armbers on the viola, May Feinberg and Clara Lyons on the violins, and this is from the album Yo Soy la Tradición. All right, so moving right along, we're going to take us another step back chronologically to an album called Típico. This is an album that I released really in the year 2017. Unlike those other two tracks that you heard, which were coming from pretty conceptual albums, this album, I mean, it was conceptual in the sense, but it was really an album that I put together to feature my work in bands, as I mentioned before. Luis Perdomo on the piano, Hans Klavishnik on the bass, Henry Cole on the drums, and myself. We've been playing together for a very, very, very long time. And I know nowadays it's sort of the exception to have a working band, but for me, it's truly been a blessing to be able to share all this time with these amazing musicians and now like family to me. So I really wanted to put a project together to sort of, commemorate our time together, write music inspired by their playing, by the way we played together. So this is what this album Típico is really about. The song that you're going to hear, the composition you'll hear is a song called Cantor. And this is a song that I wrote thinking about a good friend of mine, an amazing musician and a composer, pianist from Argentina. His name is Guillermo Klein. And I've been working with Guillermo and playing with them for a very long time. We're very, very close friends too. And I've always been inspired just by the way he makes music and just by his work ethic and just the way he creates has always been a great inspiration for me. So I wanted to write something to sort of thinking about him and his music and the inspiration he's brought to me over the years. So this is Cantor, again featuring my quartet from the album Típico, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so I want to play one more track for you. Before doing so, I want to thank you for watching. I'm really hoping that you've been enjoying the music and seeing some of the footage. I want to thank once again my colleagues, the Ori-Gen Collective, for putting this together. So this last track I'm going to share, this is from an album called Identities Are Changeable from the year 2014. The idea behind this album really was, I started a while ago, pretty much since I moved to this country. I moved to this country to go to college when I was 19. I grew up in Puerto Rico, and I developed, pretty much as a human being in Puerto Rico. But then the second half of my life, I've spent it, well, more than half of my life, I've spent it living in this country. So there's always this idea of national identity and what that means. What it means to me, for example, to be from Puerto Rico. What do I hang on to? Is it language? Is it culture, music, food? And something that I found really interesting moving here to the United States is seeing how people who also related to the idea of being from a place or a national identity type of idea, but who might be second generation or third generation, could see this a little differently or in many ways similar. So it was really interesting to me to see all the differences and similarities. So my idea was to interview some friends and family members too, who had experienced this thing of specifically in terms of their connection to Puerto Rico. All of them, everyone that I interviewed was either born and raised in New York or close to New York, but had parents or grandparents from Puerto Rico and grew up with that connection and were able to find through their lives different ways to connect to that idea, that identity of what it meant to them to be from Puerto Rico in this case. So the project came together like this. It was also deeply inspired by a book that I read when I was sort of writing this music by an individual who was also one of the friends that I interviewed, Juan Flores. He passed away a few years ago, but getting to meet him and getting to interview him and also reading this book, which is called The Diaspora Strikes Back, that kind of gave me a very specific idea of what I wanted to do with these interviews. And eventually, once I started writing the music, I combined this idea of using some of the audio and footage from the interviews with some video footage, which was created by an amazing artist and good friend, David Dempelwolf, and also writing music that in many ways symbolized this idea of having sort of like multiple identities or multiple national identities, and how these identities kind of converge sometimes. Sometimes you'll have one coming to the forefront, the other one taking a step back. So I wrote all this music thinking about this and using rhythm and rhythmic layers to kind of symbolize this idea. I wrote the music for a big band and my quartet, and the big band really features some of my favorite musicians and really some really amazing individuals, all kind of based in New York City. But I had the pleasure of being able to include them in this project. So I'm gonna share the title track to the project, Identities Are Changeable, featuring the big band, the quartet, and you're also gonna get features from a lot of the individuals that were interviewed for the project, and get a sense of what it was like putting all these elements together. I certainly hope that you enjoyed this track, and I certainly hope that you enjoyed all the music that you heard. And I hope everyone stays safe and healthy, as well as your families. And I hope to see you very, very soon. Take care.
So it can be multiple, and it's also changeable. It may not always be the same all your life. It might be one thing at one stage and then become something else, or something maybe a little different, or think of it differently than you did in an earlier stage. You can be different things. To say that you're a New Yorker and to say that you're Puerto Rican doesn't necessarily have to contradict each other. A lot of people think that way, but I don't believe that. I think more and more people are realizing that you can be more than one cultural self at the same time, and you're at the crossings of those. Rather than being just squarely in one, you'll be at the crossings.
I definitely consider myself Puerto Rican, even though I wasn't born there.
Personally, my relationship with Puerto Rico has always been, I'm not from there, but I do consider myself Puerto Rican. I consider myself a Puerto Rican who lives in New York. I was born in New York, but I still consider myself Puerto Rican.
One of the things people told me when I got older was that I don't strike them as a Puerto Rican. I strike them as a New Yorker.
I look, I'm sure to everybody else, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm, New Rican or whatever, but I don't know. It's an interesting question. Like I never even thought about trying to classify myself into a certain thing.
It's where I'm from, right? It's where my family's from. I might not live and breathe that, but it's still inside of my blood. And I think it's important to be proud of who you are.
There was a stage where where being Puerto Rican was really not something I denied, but something that really wasn't that important. It wasn't that relevant. And it didn't matter that much to me. And then I realized at a certain point that it really does matter and should matter. nationality, to realize that it's not territorially defined. You know, that territory is only one aspect of things, and language is only one aspect of things.
I actually technically don't really use the word I'm American. I always say like I'm a New Yorker or New Rican. I just never really identified with being completely American because my roots were kind of just so soiled in from the beginning. My Spanish was always my first language.
I think that the young Puerto Ricans, they often, their first answer will be, I'm so Puerto Rican, I'm Puerto Rican. They don't say, not Puerto Rican American, Puerto Rican. They reject the hyphen.
The separation of nationalistic identities just get erased because at the end of the day, the umbrella of Latinidad and Latino can embrace us all.
Identities are not, fixed and permanent and identical throughout. They're transformative, they're changing, they're multiple, they're chameleon-like, and that's not just opportunism. That's what life and society is about. You have a different role, you have a different self-perception, and as time goes on, you can change.